Is suing Uber after a shocking attack, which was all caught on camera. Take a look at this. An illegal immigrant driver was seen sucker punching him in the face and knocking him out. That attack left him hospitalized with a brain injury, and he is now here to join us and tell us all about what happened here. His name is Brian Coble, and he's the CEO of TC Biofarm. Brian, thanks for coming on this morning. We're glad you're okay right now. Before we get into talking about the suspect here, just fill us in on what led up to this. There's no audio in that video, but we see the guy just get out of the car, you're holding your dog, and then he just clocks you in the face. What happened?
You know, it was a very innocuous interaction. We had gone to get in the car, as is typical. I leaned in with the service animal to ensure that he was okay with the pet being with me. He said no pets. I said, she's a service animal. We clarified that.
Service animal?
He objected 2 more times, at which point, which happens regularly, I told him, look, cancel the ride and we'll move on, right? I'm not here to impose that issue if he's uncomfortable. We walked around the back of the car. Next thing I know, he's out of the car in my face. I put my hand out saying, get your car, and that's it. Next thing I know, I'm on my back in the hospital.
And here's the profile on this guy, if we can pull this up. He's an illegal immigrant from Russia, 42 years old. He illegally crossed into the sanctuary state of California back in 2022, then as usual was caught and released into the U.S. by the Biden administration. After he attacked you, he was arrested for second-degree assault and battery, then was released on a $10,000 bond. But he is now in ICE custody, and ICE is seeking to deport him. You found all that out after the fact. What was your reaction?
You know, I was shocked. Uber is a $200 billion company. When you get in a car with the Uber sticker on it, it carries that brand weight. It carries the trust that you have in that brand. They imbue it into these drivers. So you would have assumed, and I had up until that date, that they do background checks. They vet these individuals, that they've got a stringent process that's difficult to evade. And apparently that's not the case. You know, so I was taken aback, and it made me wonder, you know, how often has this person done it? How many other times is this going to happen? And how do you change that narrative and fix this so that it doesn't happen to somebody else?
And then I understand after this happened, Uber suspended your account while the driver was allowed to keep driving, even though you provided hospital records showing what happened. Fill us in. What did Uber do? How did they handle this?
Yeah, in fact, he picks up an Uber ride about 2 minutes later after leaving me for death, respectively. So when I got out of the hospital, I realized my account had been suspended. I corresponded with Uber. I sent them the hospital records. I sent them the police report. I actually sent them the contact information for the detective who was working on the case at the time, as well as had them speak to an eyewitness, and gave them my account along with pictures of the actual injuries. About 48 to 72 hours later, Uber just deactivated my account. So it appears to me that this is sort of their MO, right? Which is put yourselves, your end users, your riders in a dangerous situation. If something bad happens, disavow any sort of liability, any responsibility, any accountability. Throw your hands up and say it's got nothing to do with us, and then vilify the victims and attack us. And that seems to be their process. And you know, that's a very immoral way to go about your business, especially when you're a multi-billion-dollar global organization. You would think there would be a little more interest in humans.
Sending that message to Darren
Just want to tag out with what Uber is saying about all this. They say, quote, "There's no place for violence on the Uber platform. While we can't comment on pending litigation, Uber is deeply committed to safety and complies with all applicable federal, state, and local laws and regulations around worker eligibility." Brian,
tell me another
10
joke.
seconds left here, just looking for a yes or no. Have they reached out to you to talk about any potential settlement?
I'm sure they have.
Not even a little, and that'll tell you exactly what that statement that they lay out really means, right? What commitment to safety do you have if you're unwilling to speak about safety here?
Yeah. Well, Brian, thank you so much for coming on. Wishing the best for you and your health, and please keep us posted on how that lawsuit plays out.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Brian. Now, Uber's quiet, obviously. I didn't know that he actually got deactivated and the driver was taking further trips. Now, that guy, rightfully so, will be kicked out the country, will be deported, has no place here in the United States, pulling off that bullshit. But what's interesting, and this is the 3rd video on this specific topic. I will take the news stories from multiple channels. I don't get involved in the political side. Oh, this happens to be a Fox one. I'll report on whatever they are putting out, whatever new material. Doesn't matter what outlet is sharing it. This just happens to be Fox, right? But what's interesting here is he was deactivated. Driver kept on driving. They are rather quiet. He's obviously going to file a lawsuit. But in the previous videos that I made, I mean, there are a lot of drivers backing the driver. There's a lot of drivers who are not buying his story. We're saying, oh, he's leaving something out, he's lying, or whatever. Why did he have this dog, etc., etc.? So, you know, there's his side of the story. Then a judge will hear the entire story. But I think by then, that driver's probably gone, right? He'll be deported to Russia. He'll be sent directly to the front lines, to Ukraine, and he will end up as mincemeat, put through the war grinder, and that's the end of him. So I doubt the guy will ever be driving again. But leave your comments below if this is the first time you found out about the story. And I'd really like to hear from you. You happy the driver's being deported? Is he telling the truth? Or are you doubting his story? Whose side are you on? And your comments are important. Thank you.